Nick Tamaro here, taking a look at the pick six with a carryover on Friday at Belmont at the Big A. 9 races on tap. The sequence will begin in race number 4, a little bit more than 44,000 in the carryover. Let's take a look at it race by race, beginning in the 4th at 6 furlongs on the fast main track. $40,000 maiden claimers doing battle here, and the 4 actualize and the 6 upper level clearly look like the 2 that you're supposed to fear most, each of them dropping in for a tag. Actualize has run for a tag once before. It was in his career debut, from which he was claimed by today's trainer Charlie Baker. Upper level in for a tag for the first time, switching surfaces as well for Jimmy Jerkins. I picked Actualize on top. He's where I'd land in terms of making a top pick. I really don't trust him enough to single him in a pick 6 sequence, but he does look like a horse who has ample early speed. There is a little bit of a chance that he and upper level could do battle in the opening stages. That would really help the 2 Necromancer, who I think actually has more of a chance than some might on paper. He made a big prolonged move into a slow pace last time out, while mainly along the inside, and I don't think that was really the most ideal set of circumstances. Javier Castellano back in the irons. Big difference class-wise between where he ran last time out and this time. He was in for 20 in that most recent start. These $40,000 maiden claimers are a much tougher bunch. All said and done, I'd use the 2, 4, and 6 and would probably favor the 4 and 6 in terms of horses to use as main players. Moving on to race number 5. This is at 6.5 furlongs on the dirt. Tough race with a lot of speed signed on. The 1 St. Selby figures to get some pressure in the opening stages from at least the 3 Swift Sure and the 4 Senbei. It led me to try the 6 Happy Farm. First off, a claim by Mike Maselli. Good numbers for this barn. First off, the claim in dirt sprints 25% with a positive 203 ROI over the last 5 years. And my hope was that Dylan Davis would get that coveted outside stalking trip that seems to work so well in races where you're going to have a battle on the front end. St. Selby was basically home and cooled out just outside the 8th pole last time out and stopped abruptly for Rob Atras, who admittedly his barn is doing better during this Belmont at the Big A meet than it was at Saratoga. I also think the 2 Stage Left is a little dangerous from off the pace. Would find a way to include the 5 Synthesis, who'll also be rallying in the late stages. I think you can make a pretty strong case for all 6 of these runners in some capacity. Really use as many as you can from a budgetary standpoint. I think race number 6 is a time where you have to start to take a bit of a stand, and I think a lot of players are going to go deep in this race with a lot of unproven horses, first-time starters. I like the 10 Moon Age Daydream, getting a jockey change from Jose Ortiz to Flavian Pratt. This is a daughter of Candy Ride, who was bet down to 5-1 in a 10-horse field that included a heavy favorite in Souffle, and ended up getting into a little bit of a tough spot coming out of the starting gate. Ran respectably wide on the course, and in many cases, Jose Ortiz looks like he's just going through the motions down the stretch. He barely asked this horse to run. She ended up making a token late bid. She was never really getting in the money, but I do think there's more there, and she's a filly who will improve undoubtedly with some experience. The 2 Fancy Pants Juliana is the one to beat based on that strong debut effort. What I will say about her debut is it looked around the quarter pole like she was probably going to finish somewhere in the back half of the field. She fought all the way to the finish to end up 3rd in what really ended up being a pretty respectable effort for Jeremiah Engelhardt. She feels like another who'll improve with some racing experience. Moving on to race number 7, the featured event on the card, the John Hettinger. Maybe I'm a sucker, but I think Marvelous Maud is going to win this race. I think she'll get a lot of support at the windows. She's a filly who won 2 races in a row prior to being tried against Open Company in the Flower Bowl. That was obviously much too tough a race. I think the distance was a little bit beyond her capabilities as well. Irad Ortiz Jr. is back in the irons after riding the winner of the aforementioned Flower Bowl. And the drop in class is really going to do her a world of good. She has not faced New York bred stakes company yet, but this division has been in need of a fresh face for a long time, as we've seen a lot of these horses do battle on multiple occasions and kind of take turns beating each other. One of the principles that's missing that we've seen over some of the last few years is Giacosa, a classic lady who she beat by a nose 2 starts back. Looks like a horse who many will include in the pick 5. I just worry that with Christophe Clement's barn struggling right now and her coming in just okay form, if she might be a horse that you want to try and take a little bit of a swing against. The 7 Runaway Rumor looked like she was a surefire New York bred female turf superstar based on some of her efforts last year against Open Company. Suffice to say, has been a really disappointing 2022. However, she did take a step forward last time out in the Violet at Monmouth, and maybe that's a signal that she's now ready to get back on the beam. Her best races make her a major threat in here as well. I have to include the 6 Ice Princess, mainly 4, 6, 7. here for me in the pick six, coming out of the Yaddo on dirt, 2 back on the turf in a 2 other than here at Saratoga, going a mile and 3/8. She set a very slow pace, but really fought on to the finish. It was her John Hettinger from last year. That's the race that you point to and say, okay, if she runs back to that, she's a major threat, given that she was second and likely should have won with a bit cleaner trip. The 8th race is a tough and competitive 40 claimer going 9 furlongs on the main track. I think the 3 winner pool is the horse to beat. First off, a claim by Dave Duggan. This barn is 22% with a 312 ROI. First off the claim on dirt. Chased outside the whole way last time out. Looks to be moving in a forward direction in terms of most measurable speed figures. I thought the 5 American Tattoo was very dangerous as well. Key rider switch here to Luis Saez, who was going to commit this one to the front end after he ended up getting wired last time out by Bal Harbour, who ran a game race that day on the class drop from one door to the outside when they left the gate. Luis Saez will leave, take no prisoners on a march towards the front end. I'll end up using those 2, the 3 and 5 in race number 8. The nightcap is at a mile and a 16th on the inner turf. Good to see number 5 Market Segmentation back off a long layoff after debuting against maiden special weight foes on the final weekend of turf racing in 2021. She ended up going off 8-1. That was the day there was a big pick 6 carryover. The pick 6 had carried over the prior 2 cards, and it was Cigar Mile Day, and she was a surprise winner early in the sequence at odds of 8-1. Chad Brown, very good off long layoffs on the turf. That ended up being kind of a key turf race too. Wallachia and another runner from that field both won their next starts. I think her stablemate, the 4 Salima, is a little dangerous as well. Very, very wide last time out after getting into a little bit of early trouble. One you can upgrade a tad. She goes second off the layoff as well. And the 1 Diamond Hands, who really got the run of the race in her most recent start, but still fought on gamely to miss narrowly to Bahamian Club, who came back and picked up a graded stake placing in her next start. Well, that's an extended look at the pick 6. You can catch my analysis for this card at inthemoneypodcast.com and for all NYRA cards. Until next time, best of luck.